Okay, perfect. Well, welcome to our webinar, everyone. So thanks for joining our webinar today. My name is Gabby and I am part of the sales team here at Coral Expeditions based in Cairns, Australia. So we are recording the webinar today and I will send out a recorded version to everyone after today's presentation. I can see that we've still got a few joining in on the webinar now. So if you do miss any of the first part of it, you'll get a recording after. If you have any questions during the webinar as well, please write them in the chat section and we will do our best to answer them at the end of the webinar. Let's get started. So today's webinar, we have a special guest speaker, so Ian Burnett, he's going to give us his inside knowledge on the islands of the East Indies and the many hidden secrets found within our 3 voyages, which visit places Borneo, Sumatra, Sulawesi, Raja Ampat and Spice Islands. So before I hand over to Ian, I'm going to explain about Coral Expeditions and what you can expect on one of our expedition cruises for those of you that are new to Coral Expeditions. We've just got a few more coming in, so I'll just give it one more second before I jump into the next slide. Perfect. All right, welcome for those that just joined in. My name's Gabby. So Coral Expeditions, we have now been operating for 40 years and always with a single purpose, which is to take small groups of like-minded explorers to remote places with expert guidance and warm Australian hospitality. So expedition cruising. Expedition cruising is for travellers seeking a more intimate adventure on smaller ships into remote destinations which are inaccessible by larger cruise lines. So due to our vessel's smaller size, guests on board the expedition cruise can look forward to no queues, which means no wait times, greater opportunity to experience a destination and a far more authentic journey. So on board our vessels with Coral Expeditions, we encourage a natural Australian style service and an open interaction between our guests and crew. It's one where you can watch your dinner being prepared in our open galleys by our chefs, or you could go into the bridge and have a chat with the captain, get the day's plans, or simply just sit back and relax in the company of experienced guest lecturers and other like-minded travellers on board. So included in our cruises, you will get fresh and chef-prepared meals on board, as well as selected wines, beers, juices, soft drinks and spirits are served complimentary with lunch and dinner. We also have a tea and coffee station on board as well, which is available at any time. So you'll also have access to our knowledgeable guest lecturers and expedition team. So Coral Expeditions was one of the first cruise operators to employ interpretive guides on our cruises, which is a tradition that we still continue today. So each trip includes a mix of our full-time guest lecturers who are chosen for their specific knowledge depending on the destinations that we're visiting, and they immerse our guests and you on the unique wildlife and the environments that we're visiting. And that's really what expedition cruising is all about. So our expedition team, they're providing local expertise with a strong understanding of the unique landscapes, the flora and fauna and Indigenous cultures of the regions we visit. So our passionate expedition leaders, they're on board and take our guests on every excursion. So we don't hand over to land-based tour companies, we're with you along the way. We focus on more time ashore with 2 excursions daily wherever possible. And the shore excursions generally will have 2 options. It always differs depending on which voyage you're on, but this may vary from something, for instance, like a flat coastal beach walk, snorkeling or kayaking with beautiful pristine waters, or it might be more of a 4 or 5 incline up a hill hike. But there is really something for everyone, and it could even just be a coastal cruise on one of our explorer tenders. So these are our explorer tenders here, which we like to call them the safari jeeps of the sea. They're really fun and they are purpose built for our shore excursions. So how they operate is on a specialised hydraulic launching mechanism. So they just are loaded on a platform on the back of our ships, and then you can just step onto the tenders. They'll be lowered down to the water and you'll be off on your journey with under 5 minutes. So we can take the full ship's capacity as well, with 72 in each tender. So on our two larger ships, we have 2 of these tenders, and then on our smaller one, we have 1. There are open views, as you can see, so you don't miss out on the view along the way. We do have clears that come down the side as well in case we've got some bad weather, and they are designed for your comfort. So they have padded seats on board, roof for weather protection, and an onboard toilet as well. Now, we do come across a few wet and dry landings. Again, depends on which voyage you're on. But the ramp is suitable for those beach landings. So the ramp comes off the front of the vessel and you just simply step off onto the beach or into the water. It might be knee depth, something like that, depending where you are. There is audio equipment on board as well, so you get a really clear commentary and you don't miss out on anything our expedition team is saying along the way. Also, for our shore excursions, we can use our Zodiacs, which are another fun way. The Zodiac inflatables, they provide a flexible option for shore excursions and navigating those narrow inlets and waterways, and just another option to get you up close to nature, as you can see in those images there. So we will use the Zodiacs when possible. Now, with our ships in our fleet, they are purpose built for expedition cruising. So they have shallow drafts, which is high movability. We can get to you we can get you to those places that a lot of the larger vessels can't. All our vessels are Australian flagged, which means we spend more time in domestic waters on domestic voyages. We have the best local knowledge, and we don't need to spend your valuable time travelling into international waters like many other foreign lines do on our domestic range of voyages. So all our rooms are outward facing, so you don't miss out on the view, and they are all set up for twin share. However, we do have the option for sole use as well. So for the voyages, I should say, we are focusing on today, it will be on board Coral Geographer. Now, Coral Geographer is our newer ship, so delivered in March 2021, and has 60 staterooms on board with a maximum of 120 passengers. So there is a lift as well, which will take you all the way up to the top there, to the Vista Bar on the top deck. And as I mentioned before, every room is outward facing, and most of our rooms do have balconies. Otherwise, it will be a porthole window or a rectangle picture window. Okay, so now for the fun part. I'm going to hand over to the very knowledgeable Ian Burnett, who is one of our fantastic guest lecturers. Ian is the author of 5 books on the Indonesian maritime history, and he's going to tell you a bit more about that and introduce himself as well before we go on to our 3 focus itineraries today. So over to you, Ian.
All right, thanks, Gabby, for that introduction. I hope you can all hear me.
Yes,
You
we've
may
got you
not be
loud
able to
and
see
clear.
me, but I hope you can all hear me. So I've spent 30 years living and working in Indonesia and know the archipelago well, and have been on a number of coral expedition voyages as a guest lecturer. And as Gabby said, I've written a number of books about Indonesia, such as Spice Islands, East Indies, Archipelago, Where Australia Collides with Asia, and then Joseph Conrad's Eastern Voyages. But I'm happy to take you on a little bit of a trip with Gabby, and we'll talk about some of the places that you're going to visit.
Perfect. Sorry, Ian, I'll just get the next slide up for you. There we go.
All right, so we leave Darwin, and you can see the route there from Timor to Alor, Flores, and then on to Makassar. And let's talk about, I think the first location we discuss is Alor Island, and there it is. So this is one of the chieftains of the Abui tribe, who are Melanesian, as you can probably see there, and live in a hill village on the eastern end of Alor Island, Takpala village it's called. And they live in their traditional houses and wear traditional costumes. So the village is famous for its moko drums, which are heirloom objects made of bronze, and also for the beautiful ikat weaving. And you'll get a chance when you visit there to see all of that. The villagers always welcome visitors with a ceremony, a dance ceremony around a traditional stone altar. Both the ladies and the men and the children even from the village come out, and they join hands shoulder to shoulder and perform a traditional dance performance around the this stone altar, wearing their traditional woven ikat clothing, which is remarkable because women all wear a similar woven ikat. The men carry bows, arrows, machetes, and the women wear bronze anklets or numerous bronze anklets on their legs. So as they dance, the movement of their ankles or legs provide the music for this dance, which is something that I think you really enjoy seeing. And while you're there, you'll have the opportunity to see their handiwork and the ikat weaving that they do. So we've moved on from Alor to Flores, and from the port of Ende, we've travelled up across the island into the mountains to the Kelimutu crater lakes. So on this image, you can see the pathway up from the parking area to the rim of these 3 crater lakes. Now, these are quite remarkable. I don't know of anywhere else in the world where you can see this, and I don't know even if it's fully explained, but each of the 3 crater lakes has a different color. Presumably they're connected to the same volcano, but they all have a different color. It can be red, green, brown, black, and will change during the year according to presumably different minerals that occur in the lakes. So it's one of the wonders of the world, and something that you don't want to miss out on seeing. Oh, look at that. The Komodo dragon. The Komodo National Park, which is the next place to visit, is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, which was declared to protect the rare Komodo dragon, and has now been extended to protect the marine life in its surrounding waters. Now you have an opportunity to see the dragons relatively close up, but with a guide and with a group. So the dragons can be dangerous, so you should remain with the group and the guide. But these are a unique, well, a giant lizard, basically, a unique reptile. For a long time, their origins were disputed or relatively unknown, but modern DNA analysis shows now that these are the last of the Australian megafauna, only living on Komodo, Rinka, and another small island within this park. So this is your only chance to see the last of the megafauna and what is basically a giant goanna. So you won't want to miss out on that as well. Now, here we go. Look at that. This is an iconic photograph of the islands, hills around in the vicinity of the Komodo. And this is Palar Island. So a climb to the peak provides this panoramic view of the hills, mountains, sandy beaches, rugged peaks, and of course the surrounding ocean. A view which, if you'll see, has really become iconic and is included on many of the tourist brochures of the Eastern Islands. So you don't have to climb all the way up the peak to get this view, but certainly if you're up to that challenge, you can.
Mhm.
Now we've travelled all the way to the island of Sulawesi, and from here we'll take from the port we'll take an overland journey into the highlands to the remarkable lands of the Toraja people, to Tanah Toraja. Now on the way you will witness some stunning limestone mountains, and then we'll enter this this village, which you can see has a remarkable architectural style of houses, which are mainly which are longhouses. So they house large communities or family groups. While you're there, you'll be able to visit the houses. You'll also see stone graves and the hanging burial sites, because the people of Toraja people have unique burial customs. And you'll also see Torajan markets and areas where the buffaloes and pigs are purchased for the traditional funerals, where they're slaughtered during this unique funeral ceremonies. Now it says on a brochure here, you'll stay overnight and enjoy local music and dancing. So that will be a real event. So from the voyage from Darwin across the islands to Sulawesi, we'll then move on to another voyage, 20 nights, Makassar to Makassar, on a circle, a Sulawesi circle or a circumnavigation of the islands. And the first stop is Balikpapan. So here we are. From Balikpapan, we'll board a bus, which will take you to the Semboja Lestari rainforest and the sun bear sanctuary, which is a sanctuary for these endangered species of sun bears. Now you can see in this photo a rather sad-looking sun bear who's demonstrating why they're endangered, because of the logging, which has reduced their habitat. However, you will have a chance to see them. The sun bear is the smallest of the bear family and occurs in the tropical forests of Southeast Asia, both on the mainland and in Borneo. As I said, they're the smallest of the bear family, but they're stockily built, large paws, strongly curved claws, small rounded ears, a short snout, and they've adapted to being largely arboreal. So they spend a lot of their time, at least when they're not hunting on the ground, in the low trees. Their fur is generally this jet black color. And the reason why they're called sun bears is they have a characteristic orange to cream color chest patch, which hopefully you'll be able to observe. Now, from Balikpapan, we'll also go deeper into the rainforest. Don't be afraid. These creatures are harmless. They're just some of us wearing some elaborate masks. But these are the Kenya people, an indigenous Austronesian-speaking people of Borneo, who live in long houses which consist of multiple families. They are very creative in terms of their art, music, and dance, which you can see in this photograph, and you will obviously see the ceremonies that they will perform to you, the guests, on the coral geographer. Now, next stop on the voyage is Bunaken Island. Many have probably heard of this island because it's renowned for its incredible diversity of marine life and underwater corals and, of course, creatures. So a perfect destination for snorkelers and divers. And this will be one of many places where you'll have the opportunity to go snorkeling on the coral expedition voyages. So if you're a snorkeler, you will appreciate the remarkable water clarity and the precipitous walls of coral that create an otherworldly snorkeling experience for those who wish to do this. Now, something different. This is an image from the Togean Islands. Now you can see the houses there are all on stilts offshore from the main part of the islands. And these are the homes of the Bajau people, who formerly were known as, or are still, I guess, perhaps, the sea gypsies. So they originally spent most of their life at sea, ranging across the archipelago, looking for marine life and collecting different sea creatures according to the time of the year and their habitats. However, in recent times, there's been a push by the Indonesian government to have them settled in villages like this, where at least the children can attend school and receive an education. And of course, the adults can also receive some medical support if needed, and of course, a way of selling their fishing catches or whatever marine life they're actually hunting at during that period of time. So this should be an interesting experience to visit one of these villages at sea. So here we are at Tinabo, which is the one of the original boat building communities on the islands of Sulawesi, and they built these remarkable wooden fenices, traditional sailing ships that they've been building for centuries. They're built without any plans, without any paper plans at least. The only plan is in the mind of the master boat builder, and is basically based on the whatever the keel is that they lay, the size and shape of the keel, and then the planks are laid upwards, so using dowling, no iron nails or any iron equipment, and the ribs are placed in last. So it's the original method of boat building, which is seldom seen today except in these traditional villages. But these craft are now built to sail around the archipelago and bring trade goods all across the archipelago. They were obviously sailing craft, but are now powered by diesel engines. But it'll be a unique opportunity to visit and admire the methods of construction of these Phoenici ships and the craftsmanship of the boat builders. All right, we'll move on to our third voyage, which is the Raja Ampat and the Spice Islands. So leaving from Darwin, our first stop is Yamdita on Tanimbar, and then to Bandanera, and we'll look at an image from Bandanera. So here we are at the ramparts of Fort Belgica, which is a massive fort built by the Dutch East India Company and the Dutch colonies to defend the nutmeg trade, which comes from these islands. You can see in the background one of the coral expedition ships anchored in the harbour there. But the Banda Islands are unique in that they were the only place in the world where nutmeg originally grew. And this nutmeg was traded across the world, originally by local traders, and then by the Portuguese, Dutch, and the English who captured this trade. And of course, this Fort Belgica was built to defend by the Dutch to defend the trade from their English challengers. Now you'll also have the opportunity on the second day there to visit the regional spice markets here, and the village and the houses, and meet the people of Bandanera, which is an interesting morning, and will give you a fascinating insight into the village and its inhabitants. There will also be the option to go snorkeling across on Gunung Api, which is the volcano, and so you'll be able to snorkel around the actual part of the lava flow that just flowed into the sea off the volcano, where there are spectacular, colourful coral and fish species, which you will be able to spot as you dive around the what's known as the coral gardens of Banda. Now, from Banda, we'll sail along on to to Saparua Island. Now, here you'll have a chance to go ashore and visit Fort Dursteed, which is another old Dutch fort built to defend in this case, the clove trade from these islands off the north coast of Ambon. And also there's a local museum here, which has a very extensive dioramas which tell the history of this trade, and also, more importantly, the history of the islanders' fight for their independence from the Dutch, which is certainly of great interest for them. And you'll also witness these girls and boys, but here the boys, dressed up to perform their war dance, wearing their shields, swords, and other cultural adornments, and celebrating their victories over the Dutch during this struggle for their independence. So another location where you can learn a lot about the people of the islands. So Coffeo Island is our next stop. Again, another island with houses built offshore, in this case connected to the mainland. And again, more of the Bajau people, their traditional houses and traditional boats, and the life that they formerly led as sea gypsies, which, as I said, when we were talking about Sulawesi, they've now been, the government's tried to settle them in permanent villages so the children can be educated, they can be provided with basic medical care, and have better opportunities to sell their fish and other marine products from their fishing. Now here we'll also enjoy a traditional sasi ceremony and a barbecue on the beach. Now the sasi ceremony is a traditional method of preserving the ecosystem by limiting the catches depending on the designated periods that they want to avoid when the fish or marine life are breeding. So it'll be a chance to learn about these ceremonies and the life that the Bajau people lead. Well, look at that. These are the, we're now in the Raja Ampat, and Raja Ampat means the four kings. So this is the islands of the four kings, and we're in the middle of the best snorkeling and the most diverse fish habitat or marine habitat in the world, because at these islands which are offshore the western end of Papua, we see large currents making their way through from the Pacific Ocean to the Indian Ocean or vice versa, bringing a huge amount of species for the marine life to enjoy. So these are the classical beehive karst limestone topography that we'll see in the Raja Ampat, and we'll be able to explore these magnificent waterways and lagoons in the explorers that Gabby mentioned, to swim in the crystal clear waters. And there'll also be the possibility for those who are inclined for an energetic hike up to the summit of one of these mountains, or these hills, the famed Pindito Peak, to be rewarded by a panoramic view over the islands and these spectacular lagoons. So that's something the energetic can look forward to. Well, this view is self-explanatory. So we can see these beehive karst limestone islands, the beautiful crystal clear waters, and there'll be the opportunity to go snorkeling, swimming, kayaking, and viewing the underwater through a guided glass bottom tour of lagoons. So a very relaxing and enjoyable afternoon to spend in the water and exploring.
After your energetic hike.
After the energetic hike. Thanks, Gabby. So this is our final destination, which is Cendrawasih Bay on Papua, and the Cendrawasih National Park, which protects a rich marine ecosystem and covers an area of more than 14,000 square kilometres. So it's home to whale sharks, dugongs, dolphins, and as many as 200 known species of fish, and an equal number of species of coral. It's also one of the few places worldwide where it's possible to swim with whale sharks. So you can see here what could be you. They're swimming with the whale sharks. When I was there, you can't count on the whale sharks arriving on cue, but the last time I was there, we had 9 of these monsters of the deep. So it was really a unique experience to swim with these enormous fish, which are completely harmless, but can grow to the length of a large car or a bus. So it's an experience you won't forget, and one that you can only do in one of the few places that you can actually swim with them.
Great. Thanks, Ian. That's amazing. And it really goes to show that there's a bit of everything. There's nature, there's culture, there's history, from, Komodo dragons, the last of the megafauna, to whale sharks, to sea gypsies. You really get something of everything. All right, so we're going to kick off with some questions very shortly. So if you haven't had a chance to type in your questions yet, please do so now into the chat section. And if you do think of anything after the webinar as well, or would like to check pricing or availability, or have any questions at all about any of the itineraries we've covered today, you can see our reservations details on the screen there. So you've got the email address and the contact number, and our reservations team would be happy to help with any of that. But while we're waiting for a few questions to come through, Ian, can you tell us a bit about on the shore excursions? I did mention it briefly before about wet and dry landings and what sort of footwear you'd recommend for people to take on these voyages.
Certainly. Well, you'll be informed ahead of time whether it's a wet landing or a dry landing. So if it's a dry landing, obviously you can wear any sort of shoes or boots that are suitable for walking around. So I would imagine in tropical climate, sort of light walking shoes is preferable because you don't want to bang up your feet on rocks or bits of coral on the beach. But sandals are okay as long as they're well protected. If it's a wet landing, then obviously it's sandals or the type of footwear you use when you're snorkeling, those rubber shoes or boots. So either of those are suitable, and you just need to be well aware beforehand of what you can use, or you just jump off if it's a wet landing in your bare feet and carry your shoes or sandals in your hand accordingly.
Perfect. And when visiting these local communities, is there a recommended dress code for guests to wear when they're visiting?
You'll probably be informed beforehand. Obviously, again, since it's a tropical climate, light dress. But some of a lot of these islands are inhabited by Muslims or the Islamic community. So in those cases, the women at least will be advised to wear, well, men will wear shirts as they would, and the women would wear a scarf or something which they can use over their shoulders, or if necessary, wear as a head covering.
Yeah, perfect. And just a bit more on the weather. So the voyages are going, around March and April, also January and Feb. So what sort of weather can people expect at those times of year?
Well, again, it depends on the time of the year, but
Yeah.
the if we're in the southern part, sort of the Flores Alor, the rainy season is sort of from December to February. So anytime after that, you'll have perfect weather. As you go further north, the rainy season changes. So if we're up north from sort of July onwards, we'll have good weather there as well. So I guess once you know the date of your voyage, you can inquire from Coral Expeditions as to what to expect.
Perfect. And so this one's probably more related to our end of things, Ian, but someone was just asking about, do they need to pack a drink bottle and water? But I can confirm that we do provide you with a personalised drink bottle in your room, and you can take that on the shore excursions with you, and you can refill them on board as well. Now, as you mentioned, Ian, there's lots of snorkeling options along our voyages, which is great. With scuba diving, there will be the option to scuba dive in a few different areas. That is an optional extra, and our reservations team can talk to you about that if you are interested as well. So you can add that on as an additional optional extra if interested. And I think that's all we've had for the questions today. But as I mentioned, if you do think of anything at all after the webinar, please reach out to us. The contact details are on there, or jump on our website as well. There's lots of information on there, but we're always happy to answer anything you've got. So thanks again for taking the time to join us and watch our webinar today. If you did join in late, that's fine. We have recorded this webinar today, so we will send you out a recorded version of it in the next few days, and you can watch it again or share it with friends and family that weren't able to attend today. But a big thank you to you, Ian, as well, for your fantastic knowledge in the region. It is much appreciated to get an expert advice on these places that we're visiting. And our next webinar will be all about the Kimberley, if anyone's interested. So we have just started our Kimberley season, which is going really well. The waterfalls are pumping and they've had some great weather over there. So still plenty of availability for this year. And that webinar will be on Thursday, the 11th of May at 1:30 at Brisbane time again, so Australian Eastern Standard Time. And we'll have a special guest speaker, another Ian, but we'll have Ian Herford on this one. So keep your eyes as well peeled on our website, guys. We will soon be releasing our Islands of the East Indies voyages for 2025. So today's focus was on the ones we've already got released. But yeah, keep your eyes out on that. And again, thanks so much for taking the time to join Coral Expeditions and learn all about the Islands of the East Indies. We'll see you next time. Thanks, Ian.
Thanks, Gabby. See you, everybody.